The sunlight poured through the airport's tall glass panels, turning the terminal into a sea of gold and reflections. Passengers hurried by, dragging suitcases, calling loved ones, chasing flights. But in row 8, seat C, sat a man who didn't seem to belong to any of it. His hands rested on a worn leather backpack, the kind that had seen both war and weather. His eyes, calm but haunted, stared out the window at the waiting aircraft. His name was Aaron Vale, just a single dad now, traveling home from his late wife's memorial service. And yet, in a few moments, the quiet hum of engines outside would remind the world of who he truly was, Falcon Zero. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us of the strength within ordinary souls, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Your support helps us bring more real, emotional stories to life. The flight attendants had begun their safety checks. Aaron glanced sideways to where his 9-year-old daughter Lily was coloring in a little notebook. Her bright blonde hair framed a face full of concentration. "Daddy, look," she whispered, showing him a scribbled drawing of a jet streaking across a blue sky. The tail number, oddly specific, read F-35-001. Aaron smiled faintly, though something deep in him twisted. He hadn't seen an F-35 up close since the day he walked away from the Air Force. Outside, the engines of commercial planes droned like a lullaby, but beneath it, Aaron could almost hear another sound sharper, faster, cutting the clouds. He shook it off. The captain's voice came over the speaker, steady and warm. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Flight 217 to Phoenix. Expected flight time." Aaron tuned out. His heart still wasn't ready for the skies. 3 years ago, he had lost everything. His wife, Emily, was killed in a roadside accident while he was deployed overseas. The news reached him mid-mission. By the time he returned home, the funeral was over. The guilt broke him. He left the service, traded his flight suit for construction boots, and vowed never to fly again. Now, he was just trying to keep his promise to Emily to raise Lily with love, patience, and hope. But every time he looked at the sky, it felt like she was up there, watching, waiting for him to come back to life. As the plane climbed into the clouds, Aaron closed his eyes. Lily hummed beside him, her tiny voice blending with the low hum of the jet. The sound soothed him until a sudden crackle broke over the intercom. "This is your captain. Folks, if you look out the right side of the aircraft, you'll see something special today." Passengers turned, pressing against windows. Aaron frowned, looking past Lily's seat. There, glinting in the sunlight, were 4 F-35 Lightning Roman II, slicing through the open blue. Their formation was tight, wings catching the light like blades of silver. The passengers gasped and pulled out phones. "Wow, they're escorting us," someone said. Aaron's heart pounded. He leaned closer to the window, his pulse hammering against his chest. Those planes weren't random. The formation, diamond, inverted, breaking pattern, it was a salute. A very specific one, the same one used for a fallen pilot. He froze. The F-35s dipped their wings slightly. And then, through the aircraft's radio channel, the one only he could hear because of his old service receiver still tucked in his backpack, came a crackling voice. "Falcon Zero, if you're up there, this is Talon 6. We never stopped flying with you." Aaron's breath hitched. For a moment, everything blurred: the passengers, the cabin, even Lily's curious eyes. He fumbled to open his bag, pulling out a small, battered radio earpiece. He hadn't used it in years. He slipped it on, barely daring to breathe. "Talon 6, this is Falcon Zero," he whispered, voice trembling. "You're breaking formation. What's going on?" Silence for a beat, then the voice returned, strong and full of emotion. "Sir, we heard about Emily. We didn't get to say goodbye. Command approved a fly-by for her and for you." Aaron's throat tightened. He pressed his forehead against the cold window, tears welling up. Below, clouds rolled like waves. Above, the F-35s banked left, the sunlight flashing off their canopies. They had painted something on their wings, a tiny emblem of a white lily. His daughter's name. Lily noticed it too. "Daddy, look, that's my flower," she said, pressing her little hand to the glass. Aaron couldn't speak. The lump in his chest grew heavy as memories flooded in nights of silence after deployments. The day he promised Emily he'd come home for good. The morning he found her note saying, "Never stop flying, Aaron. You were born for the sky." He had buried that part of himself, thinking it died with her. But now, it was calling him back through the roar of engines, through his brothers in the sky, through the voice whispering his old call sign like a prayer. Falcon Zero. The formation broke apart, one jet pulling straight up the missing man, a maneuver. It was a tribute used only for fallen aviators. Every pilot knew what it meant. The cabin was silent, every passenger watching the sky. Even the captain's voice trembled slightly as he came on. "Ladies and gentlemen, what you're witnessing is something rare, a formation honoring a hero among us." Aaron's eyes burned as he looked at Lily. She didn't fully understand, but she smiled softly, as if sensing her mother was part of the wind above. He squeezed her hand and whispered, "That's for your mom, sweetheart." The jets tilted one last time before vanishing into the horizon. The radio crackled once more. "Falcon Zero, skies are clear. Keep flying, sir." Aaron leaned back in his seat, heart pounding, tears silently streaming. The passengers began to clap softly, one after another. Strangers who didn't know his story but somehow felt the weight of it. When the plane landed in Phoenix, Aaron was the last to stand. The captain was waiting near the exit, a quiet smile on his face. "Mr. Vale," he said, "your service was known to more people than you think. The Air Force arranged this. They wanted to remind you that you're still one of them." Aaron nodded, unable to speak. He stepped onto the tarmac with Lily's hand in his, the warm desert wind brushing against his face. And there, parked at the far end of the runway, stood a single F-35 with a white lily painted near its nose. Its cockpit was open, canopy reflecting the morning sun. A mechanic nearby called out, "It's yours to visit, sir." They said, "She's waiting." Aaron walked slowly toward it, every step heavy with memory. The smell of jet fuel, the hum of the engines cooling, the faint echo of commands from years past, all of it flooded him. He lifted Lily up so she could touch the wing. "Mom would have loved this," she whispered. He smiled through tears. "She's here, Lil. She's right here." For the first time in years, Aaron climbed the ladder and sat in the cockpit. The switches, the screens, the feel of the controls under his fingers, it all came back like muscle memory. He closed his eyes, breathing in the scent of the canopy, the ghost of flight. He imagined Emily's voice again, soft and steady, "Never stop flying." He didn't. That day, Aaron Vale, once broken, once buried by loss, remembered who he was. Not just a widower, not just a father, but a man who still carried hope on his wings. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Your support helps us keep telling stories of courage, healing, and the quiet strength that lives in all of us. And before you go, please leave a comment below. Tell us, what would you whisper to someone who's forgotten their own wings? Aaron Vale looked up one last time before leaving the base. In the distance, an F-35 soared across the blue, sunlight blazing off its body. He could almost hear it, the faint radio whisper, the voice of his brothers in arms, "Falcon Zero, skies are clear, welcome home." And for the first time in 3 years, Aaron smiled at the sky, not as a memory, but as a promise.